Hi guys, welcome back to 30 Days to Your First Website Design, a Tuts Plus premium course. I'm Ian Yates, and today we're going to wrap up our PSD design by finishing off our footer. Now we'll begin as always by taking a quick look at what we're going to cover in this video. Well, first we'll ask ourselves about the role of footers in web design, and then we'll take a look at a couple of examples before we dive back into our PSD and finish off our own footer. Then, as ever, I'll ask you to complete an assignment before we jump into the next video. Now, the footer of any given web page is the bit right at the bottom. That doesn't mean it ranks poorly against other sections of a web page. In fact, studies have shown that in terms of a user's attention span, the footer comes in a close second to the very first bit at the top. And that makes sense too. As we've spoken about, a user will typically scan a web page, not absorb it all in detail. If they're scrolling their way to the bottom of a page past everything else and nothing specifically catches their attention, they're inevitably going to end up at the footer where they're forced to stop and take a look. It's therefore an ideal opportunity to encourage users into taking further action. Designers use footers to display necessary information such as copyright details, but footers are also ideal for housing social links, contact information, newsletter sign-up forms. They can be perfect for reminding users of something you were suggesting in your features area. You can also use a footer to express a final bit of personality before the page ends. You can introduce users to an intriguing fact about your firm. Or how about additional navigation? They can be a way of saying, okay, so you didn't find what you were looking for, try one of these links. Or they can simply be a subtle way of sealing off the rest of your page. Now we're going to opt for the last example in our own design. We don't need our footer to contain much information, we just want to leave some copyright details, some subtle yet striking social links. It should complement our design quite nicely. So let's open up our PSD and remind ourselves where we were. Just grab it here, here we go. Now here we have our footer folder, completely empty and ready to go. So the first thing we're going to need are some social icons. Now these, one of the great things about web design is the enormous community that's out there supplying free items and help. So I could recommend you go and check out the icon work by Umar Irshad. Apologies if I didn't say that properly. Here's his Dribbble page, and these are the icons we're going to grab. We're going to grab them from designmoo.com from their download page. Now once you've grabbed these, you can open up the PSD in Photoshop. They are ideal for our needs. We're not going to use them in their current state, but they're a perfect starting point and they're perfectly scalable too. So let's just auto select group, and we're going to need the Facebook icon, and if I press shift here and select the Twitter and the Skype icons as well, and we can just drag those directly into our layout PSD. So now we can get rid of that altogether. Okay, so that's a good start. I'll bring up my guides here. Actually I'm just as well getting rid of all the styling on these buttons, I think. So I'm just going to select them all like so, and I'm going to clear their layer style. Now we'll begin by using the background of one of them, and we're going to sample the pale green. And we're going to do that for the others as well. There we go. The icons themselves we're going to use to match our footer. Oops. There we go. So that's got them styled perfectly. Now all we really need to do is size them properly. So actually they're sized fine anyway. We're going to have them the width of these grids here, so that's ideal actually. All we really need to do is bring them within the right spacing of each other, like so. Let's just zoom in to make sure we're doing this accurately enough. Actually, I'm going to slightly resize them here so that they are exactly the same size as these columns. Okay. And the Twitter one, like so. And by selecting all of them and aligning them along the horizontal axis, should have actually worked. Yeah, oh, that Twitter looks slightly smaller than the rest for some reason. That's interesting. That would suggest I've knocked one of my guides, perhaps. Yes, I have. I've knocked this guy by the look of it. That should be there. Okay, that makes more sense. Alright. So I'll zoom out. That's catered for those nicely. Now, as I mentioned before, we could do with making sure that we have our hover state dealt with. So I'm going to select my Twitter background and I'm going to make it a bit brighter. So that's going to be how our hover state appears on our social links. That's perfect. We're going to allow that to have a little bit of padding inside the outer edge of our design. So now all we need to do is add a little bit of text as well. I have some copyright information in a text file here, so I'll just grab that, copy it, and making sure I'm not in one of my icon folders. Drag like so, and paste it like so. Now we're going to colour it like so, making it a touch darker, a little subtler. And then I'm going to make a couple of links here just to suggest that there's something that can be done. That's going to be much brighter with an underline. And this one too. There we go. Okay, and that's perfectly aligned. Actually, if we just center that against our icons and then move out, just to see how that appears. That seems to have finished off our page quite nicely. Straightforward, but just the job. Okay, so we'll Command and S that, and that just about finishes up our PSD. So in the next video we're going to start looking at preparing this to move into HTML and CSS. Okay, it's time for some further reading, so we'll just jump back into the presentation here. Now this is nothing too heavy, but you might want to take a look at this roundup of inspirational footer designs on Noop.com. That might just give you the ideas you've been looking for. Next time on 30 Days to Your First Website Design, we're going to begin transforming our PSD into working browser magic. We'll take a look at prepping our design. I'm Ian Yates, and from all of us at TouchPlus, thanks for watching.